Been a while, right? People have been wanting a new Pokemon Headcanon video for the longest time, but it's finally here. It's like the gift that just keeps on giving. No, seriously. You guys leave so many headcanons. I can't even keep up. I'm still reading comments. But you guys really brought your A game today, because a lot of these headcanons are great. And if you're happy that headcanons are back, hit that hype button. I don't know what it does. Probably something good, but do it. Like always, if you want your headcanon featured in a future video, just leave it down below in the comments. And make sure you're subscribed, or else I'm not putting it in. Pause. Anyways, innuendos aside, get your drawing tablet, get your food, play your game. I don't know what you guys do while watching these, but get cozy, because we're gonna be here a while. First up, we got the top comment from the last video. King of Doge says, my headcanon is that kids in the Pokemon world have battles with Pokemon cards before they're 10 years old, so they can learn the fundamentals of Pokemon battling. I like this headcanon because I feel like it makes a lot of sense. Young kids probably really look up to Pokemon trainers, so to try and imitate them, they do it safely using Pokemon cards. And honestly, yeah, they're probably just doing it for fun, but I don't think they'd realize just how much they're really learning while playing with them. They'd be learning type matchups, when to switch out, attacks. It's really good for getting children to think on their feet in the heat of a Pokemon battle. So while they might not realize it's an educational toy, it most definitely is. Spotty Gem says, headcanon of my own. How totally starts up a Malasada shop / brand a while after the games. Becomes Kahuna after Hala retires and still works there every now and then. Could totally see the protagonist working there too. Kahili, is that how her name's spelled? Alola Flying Elite Four, would actually be good enough to become champion on her own if it weren't for her golf career distracting her. Arvin totally packs lunch for the protagonist, but when asked by others for one, he turns them down without a second thought. Skuntank is Piers' ace, but Obstagoon is his main singing partner, preferring to practice songs with it than other people. I love the idea of How starting his own little Malasada shop, and also him becoming Kahuna. He does want to make his grandfather proud, so I'm sure he'd achieve this one day. I'm not exactly sure just how good he'd be making at Malasadas though, but like, how hard could it be? I'm sure that he would try his absolute best to perfect his craft for the sake of sharing his love for Malasadas. Maybe he'd even ask Mallow for help, since she is good at cooking and making food. Hell, maybe she'd be a co-owner. Who knows? I can see Arvin having some favoritism for the player, especially after all that they've done for him, so he probably feels indebted to them, and packing lunches in his mind is the least he can do. Hopefully Koraidon and Miraidon don't get to it before the player does though. Who knows what else that thing's capable of. I think Pierre's having a different battling ace than his singing partner makes sense. Skuntank might not have what it takes to make it on stage, but at least it's got fighting spirit. Requiem Dragon says, the Scarlet and Violet protagonist eats so much so quickly, people around them start to worry, but are too scared to confront them. Also, they have a literal void for a stomach. Them being too scared to confront them is what makes this headcanon really funny to me. Like either A, they just don't want to seem rude by asking, why do you eat so much? Or B, they're really scared as to what will happen to them by asking. Also, seeing how soulless the Scarlet and Violet sandwich eating animation is, I can definitely see them having a void in their stomach. No matter how much they eat, it's never enough. They're pretty much just Kirby at this point. Name Villain says, I got mostly Galar headcanons. 1. Hop and Marnie are both really into thrifting and go shopping together whenever they have a free day. Marnie's jacket is thrifted, that's why I look so big on her. 2. Oleana was probably taking care of Bede more than Rose was. Bede's watch is a gift from her. 3. Sonia has a mandatory, unskippable tea time with Professor Magnolia every Saturday. They like to just enjoy each other's company. 4. Alistair and Marnie are friends. They both get called emo offhandedly, and they despise it. I like the idea of Marnie and Hop going thrift shopping. I feel like they both really enjoy that, and I really don't know why. 100% Oleana had to be the one taking care of Bede, if anyone at all. I feel like Chairman Rose would have just tossed him a couple thousand Pokédollars and told him to go buy himself lunch or something. Also, I just now realized that I have always, without fail, called Rose Chairman Rose, like the title's a part of his name. I might have also unconsciously read it like that while reading the headcanon too, but honestly, I don't even remember. I didn't even notice that Bede had a watch. And while I was looking at his concept art just now, because his outfit does kind of go hard, I read this little note that said, watch he received from Rose. So, that's not real. Apparently it doesn't fit him properly though, so that's a nice little touch. It's like they're trying to show that they care, but the fact that it doesn't fit shows that they don't really, if that makes sense. Also, apparently he's left-handed. I've never noticed this before. I imagine during Sonia's mandatory tea time, she's not allowed to be on her phone, which would just drive her crazy. After a while though, she forgets about it and has a nice little conversation with her grandmother about how her research is going. And I can definitely see Alistair and Marnie being friends. They're both very edgy looking. And them being annoyed that people call them emo despite that is also really funny and honestly pretty relatable. Coconut says, here is a headcanon of mine. I believe that most dragon-type trainers are treated in high regard. For example, being the last gym leader of the region or being a very present type in the Elite Four. That is due to the amount of dedication and time you need to put in to train your baby dragons to get that strong. And once you pass the threshold of them evolving, you become an unstoppable force. I think this headcanon fits in really well with the Pokemon world. Dragon types evolve at such absurdly high levels and also gain XP super slowly, so only the most dedicated trainers would even even dare to try to focus on them. And plus, I feel like they would be kind of difficult to work with. These are ferocious creatures, so if you don't hatch them yourself and caught them in the wild, that's super dangerous. But of course, all that hard work is worth it since these things are extremely strong. Handy Jack says, one for each champion. Blue founded Blueberry Academy. Lance bred his Dragonites. Steven scoffs at people when they build houses out of wood. Wallace is secretly jealous of Lance's capes. Cynthia isn't a fan of fairy types. Alder's from the ancient past. Iris likes to use dragon types because of her appreciation of Lance. Diantha is always recognized. Her fans just know basic respect. Kukui secretly hates Dynamax/Gigantamax. Hao only eats fast because he stress eats. Leon always closely watches Lance's cape so he can have a better cape. Gita saw YouTube comments and changed her team around. I love the idea of Blue being so egotistical that he names the academy he founded after himself. Actually, aren't most universities and schools named after their founders? The world's got a real ego problem then. If Lance did breed to get his Dragonites, that means the original Dragonite he bred to get those is out there somewhere. I wonder who it belongs to. Steven having a brick house superiority complex is a really funny idea, and to be fair, he's got a point. They're way sturdier. I'm not really sure what benefits wood houses have, but it can't be that many more, right? Aside from just being cheaper and easier to work with. Wallace being jealous of Lance's capes is also super funny. He can't wear a cape, that's Lance's thing. And I guess by proxy also Claire's. It runs in their blood, I guess. I don't know if by not being a fan of fairy types you mean that Cynthia simply doesn't care about them, or if she just flat out hates them. Maybe she would just dislike them because they're pink and they'd clash with her whole goth aesthetic. She shops at Hot Topic, not Claire's. That, or she doesn't like the fact that they're super effective against her Garchomp. She has this super cool dragon jet thing, and then this little cotton candy dog just comes up and one-shots her. I'd be pretty mad too. I think the idea of Alder being from the past is super cool. There was someone who looked almost identical to him in Legends Arceus, and he was the ancient hero. So either Alder has really strong genes, or that's just straight up him. I think Iris would not only just look up to Lance, but just dragon type trainers as a whole because of just how cool they are. Or maybe she'd especially look up to Claire because she's a female dragon type trainer. She's like, wow, I want to be cool just like her. For the Diantha one, I think that would be sweet if anyone who could recognize her in disguise respects her enough to know that she's in one for a reason. I'm gonna have to disagree with the Hao stress eating one. Hao is the most carefree guy in the world. There's no way that guy's stressed out. I don't know if you have a reason for Kukui hating Dynamax or if I'm missing something, but it's interesting nonetheless. Maybe he thinks it makes his battle royales look boring by comparison. Leon would need to take more notes because his cape just straight up sucks. It's littered with sponsors. Lance keeps it nice and simple. I can't imagine Gita going to YouTube to check the comments, but maybe she was seeing some news articles about her team, or Nimona gave her some advice on what to switch out. Rhonda says, mine is that there's a region-wide alert when Brock goes to a region. I really love this headcanon a lot. It's really funny to me. Brock having gained so much notoriety for the way he simps over women to the point where they feel the need to have a regional broadcast warning every girl in the region that he's arrived is the best thing ever. I just imagine those who don't know are like, huh? Why would they be warning us about this guy? Then the moment they cross paths, they immediately understand why. Spritzier says, my headcanon is that since Nimona canonically has trouble throwing Pokeballs, all of her Pokemon are wild Pokemon that she befriended who let her catch them. And she treasures Pawmot so much because it's the first Pokemon she successfully caught traditionally by weakening and then throwing a Pokeball. I actually completely forgot that Nimona was bad at throwing Pokeballs. Apparently that's the reason she wears the little brace around her arm. It helps her aim. But I love this explanation for why she has Pawmot on the team. It makes it a lot more special. Sapphire Moon Studios says, some random headcanons. Kiawe is terrified of roller coasters, but he tries to act tough so he doesn't seem like a scaredy cat. Nimona and Penny know how to swear, they just choose not to. Kiawe doing his best to act tough is a funny little idea. I like it. I can see Nimona choosing not to swear, but I feel like Penny is a 50-50. She does play video games and watches anime, so I feel like that type of language is very ingrained in the medium. Maybe if she gets angry enough playing a game, she'll swear, or maybe she really does have that much restraint. Xenobolt says, I like to imagine that anytime a trainer is going to another region via plane, boat, or train, some of their Pokemon get held back because of TSA bullcrap. Example, Electrode. Self-explanatory. I can't imagine the line at the airport because of TSA in the Pokemon world. I think the list of Pokemon that would be able to get on a plane would be way shorter than the list that can't. I'd imagine for the Pokemon you can't bring, they would just tell you to leave it in your PC box. It also confuses me why in the Pokemon world, some people buy tickets for their Pokemon to have a seat on the plane. I don't know why anyone would want to sit on a plane for hours when you could just be cozy in your Pokeball. Maybe it's for like the one-time experience, but trust me, after that one time, you'll never want to do it again. D Bunny says, headcanon. Nimona has learned about the battle simulator from Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and is doing everything in her power to get one. If anyone in the Pokemon world needs this, it's Nimona. This poor girl cannot find anyone to battle in Paldea. So her having her own little simulation machine where she can fight against other trainers is kind of sad, but let her have this. She wants to fight. I just see this as her hyperbolic time chamber. Who knows how much stronger she'll become after using this thing for a week? Flameslinger says, I really love headcanons, but sometimes I have a hard time time thinking of a good one on the spot. I hope this one's good. But if my favorite Sword and Shield trio met up with Nemona, Penny, and Arven, Gloria and Nemona would spend all day battling, and Gloria would teach Nemona all the Galarian swears. Nintendo and Game Freak will never stomp out Scottish Gloria in my mind. Penny and Marnie would probably find somewhere quiet to listen to music. Penny would show Marnie Nightcore, and Marnie would decide to make Nightcore versions of her brother's songs. And Victor and Arven would bond over cooking. Maybe after Gloria and Nemona have spent all day battling, and Penny and Nemona are getting hungry themselves, Victor and Arven would have some pretty good curry and sandwiches ready for them. I think Nemona would love to have someone up to her level to battle with. Assuming Gloria's the champion, Nemona wouldn't have to hold back against her, and can really give it her all and have fun. I think Penny and Marnie would get along great. They're both pretty quiet, and I can definitely just see them listening to music. I don't think Marnie would think the Nightcore versions of her brother's songs would sound good. I think she'd just do it because she finds her brother sounding like a chipmunk to be amusing. And I'm sure Penny would think the same. Victor and Arven making food sounds awesome. Curry and sandwiches sound so tasty. Maybe they could teach each other a few recipes too. Gaming Raptor Pro says, my headcanon is that Ho-Oh slowed down Ash's age until he could accomplish his dream. It's why he's still around 10 to 11 in journeys. I've always really liked this explanation for why Ash doesn't seem to age. It would make Ho-Oh's appearance feel a lot less random. It always felt really weird to me that despite all of Ash's adventures, all of the friends he's made, all the regions he's been to, and him literally becoming the world Pokemon champion, this all took less than a year. Some would argue that, oh, that only makes it more impressive, but to me, it just makes it seem kind of lame. And it also really diminishes Ash and Pikachu's bond for me, because what do you mean they've only just met this year? It just doesn't sit right with me. And it just makes all of Ash's accomplishments not feel earned, even though it most definitely is. I really hope that now that Ash has finally achieved his dream, he can finally start aging. I think an older Ash would be so cool to see. Maybe he can do what Red does and chill at the top of a mountain, but that doesn't seem like something Ash would do. L Gremlin says, my headcanon is that Larry's family are the least mundane people ever. They're super excitable and wear full colored bright outfits. Why? Because fun. I really love that this headcanon makes Larry the oddball in his family, but in actuality, he's like the most average and normal one. Everyone else is just so eccentric by comparison. Who knows if he's always been like this or working a corporate job sucked his soul away. I just imagine when Larry eats with his family, they're all chattering away, laughing, talking, and just having a good time. And he's just sitting there not saying a word, eating his food. If anyone asks, they're just like, oh, that's just Larry. Don't mind him. Delinquent Angel says, okay, so I have two headcanons. 1. Iono taught her Pokemon to moderate her chat when she's streaming and not in a battle. Imagine getting banned by Belly Bolt. 2. Drayton's jerkish nature rubs off on the other BB League members a bit, so when Kieran went to challenge them, that plus his lust for revenge and power made him an a-hole in the Indigo Disc. I feel like that's such an Iono thing to do. I feel like half the time her Belly Bolt wouldn't even do its job right, because it doesn't have any fingers. It just has these little nubs for hands, and it'd probably accidentally ban the wrong person. I'm not gonna lie though, if I got banned by a literal Belly Bolt, I don't know if I'd be more mad or impressed. I don't really think Drayton's that much of a jerk. He was a really chill guy, at least from what I've played through so far, and I'm already on my way to Area 0, and he didn't really want to go, so I probably won't be seeing him for a bit, but seriously, this guy's awesome. I think he just knows when to push back. Kieran probably went up to him with aggression, so he's just giving him the same energy back. Yeah, it probably stirred the pot, but you get what you put out into the world. If you're being a dickhead, people are gonna be one back to you. But again, it did stir the pot, and probably amplified Kieran's rage even more. Arivalia says, my personal headcanon is that rare candies taste like soda candy, and that EXP candies taste like blue Jolly Ranchers. D. I love little headcanons like these. They're short and simple, but they're great. By soda candy, I'm assuming you mean Ramune, right? Since they're also usually associated with the color blue. It makes sense. EXP candies tasting like blue Jolly Ranchers though would be awesome. Those are the best Jolly Ranchers, hands down. Since they are a little lighter in shade though, I'd imagine they'd have like a hint of lime or something else. Maybe something tropical tasting. Rowan Hart says, I headcanon that even though Bianca needs glasses, she often forgets to wear them. This is some next level type of forgetfulness. I'm the most forgetful person that I know, unless I'm forgetting someone, but even I can remember, hey, I can't see without my glasses. And I just recently found out that I have visual snow, so that only makes my vision even worse. I would understand if she forgot where she put them though, because searching for your glasses when you can't see is the absolute worst thing ever. I do think that this headcanon fits Bianca very well though. She's already very clumsy, so I wouldn't put it past her to be forgetful too. At least she got better at remembering though, since in Pokemon Black and White 2, she does wear her glasses. You can see, Bianca, you can see. Ghost of Pride says, here's two that I came up with. Avid Pokemon battlers tend to have breathing/vision issues due to the lung and eye irritation from the ash, dust, and debris caused by battles. Official Pokemon battles will typically have a Pokemon that knows protects standby trainers to stop them from being hit by stray attacks. World-building headcanons like these are really cool. It makes sense though. With all the dust and debris flying all over the place, there's bound to be some sort of health issues that arise. Maybe some trainers wear goggles or masks to help them breathe better like how graffiti artists do. I also like the idea of a Pokemon being on standby to protect trainers from attacks. I feel like being that close to two creatures with superpowers fighting would be pretty dangerous. It probably also helps them not get sued too. Hello, hi, hold on just a second. If you're enjoying these headcanon videos, I would super duper appreciate it if you could join the channel membership. It's only $2 and it's a nice little way to help out. If not, that's okay. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. Anyways, it's time to get back to more headcanons. This is a Super Saiyan says, Poppy likes helping Larry with his business work, despite not really knowing what any of it means. Larry has started printing 2 copies of everything so she can fill out her own. Larry and Poppy headcanons are always super cute, and I absolutely adore this one. I imagine Poppy's just doodling away or writing complete nonsense, while Larry is hard at work doing accounting or whatever the hell he does. It can keep Poppy busy so she isn't causing trouble for Larry while he's working. Alex Allright says, my headcanons are, whenever a region starts an Elite Four and League or whatever, all champions come over to check it out and become safety inspectors to make sure it's up to League code. Maybe they battle them all to see how strong they are. Blue constantly tries to get Red to join any winter sport events because he's great at all of them due to his time in the mountains. Grass Pokemon are popular when it comes to perfume and self-care companies, along with fairy types, due to their good smells which makes their products popular. Wally loves to watch competitive Pokemon and competitions with battling, which is how he ended up making his team. He just pulls out a comedically long list of all the meta Pokemon in battling at the time whenever someone asks how he made his team. I imagine all the champions are looking around the place, like lifting up couches and stuff for some reason, or like making sure that doors open and close properly, just really dumb stuff like that. But I think they take the battling part more seriously, and probably are just curious to see what these Elite Four members have on their team. I feel like Red snowboarding would actually go so hard. I don't know what other winter-related sports there are, maybe hockey I guess, but I can also imagine that Red has built up a really high cold endurance since he was up there without any winter clothes. I think there was a similar headcanon about grass types being used for scents in a previous video, but I feel like fairy types would work really well too. I also think it would be really funny if, much like in real life, men's cologne in Pokemon are just abstract concepts, like Sacred Ember, and it just has a Ho-Oh plastered on it, or Shattered Horizon, and it just has a Graveler on it, stuff like that. For the Wally one, I feel like that's probably how Wally got so interested in Pokemon battling, since he wasn't allowed to leave much because of his illness. But seeing all these videos of super strong trainers probably inspired him to go out there and give it his best shot. I imagine the long list he has is like a Target receipt. Genuinely, why are Target receipts so long? Feziroth says, my headcanons. 1. Guzma brags about drinking black coffee, but he only drinks iced tea. 2. Each dragon specialist looks down on Claire for her being a sore loser, and Lance always has to apologize for her immature behavior. 3. There were likely a couple of villages in the past that were taken over by Pawniards, Bisharps, and a singular leading King Gambit. I think Guzma bragging about something he doesn't even do is so Guzma. I love it. I don't know how or why people drink black coffee. It's so gross. I could never do that to myself. Iced tea is super tasty though. This Claire headcanon sort of falls in line with the one earlier, about dragon type trainers being looked up to in high regard. Claire's immaturity is probably seen as very taboo for dragon type specialists, and they probably wonder how she even had the patience, let alone skill, to get this far. Thinking about a village being ransacked by a bunch of Pawniards and Bisharps is horrifying. A lot of people probably got sliced up in the process. All they really need to keep a village safe though is a few fighting types patrolling the area. They'd be able to handle all of them super easily thanks to their 4 times effectiveness. John McKnight says, I just thought of this headcanon, but the reason N talks so fast is because when he first met other humans, that's how fast it felt like they were talking. And he thinks that's just how fast normal people talk. I always thought it was fascinating that N just speaks fast. I feel like it's such a random character trait to point out, but it's still cool. You can even see his dialogue moving at the max speed, even if you have yours set at low. But I like this headcanon to explain it. To him, it must have been really confusing to learn the English language, or I guess Japanese, but he did his best to replicate it in the way that he perceived them talking. Maybe N has a slightly strange accent, one that you can't exactly pinpoint where it's from, but you can tell he has one. Ice Ruby says, some Paldea headcanons. 1. Caddy, when not busy at the gym and patisserie Soapberry, is a die-hard Super Sentai fan and binges episodes in her downtime. That's why her ace is low kicks. 2. Larry actually likes his job as both a gym leader and Elite Four member, but hates Gita. 3. Team Star has a joint Discord server, and the only ones who are admins aside from the bosses and Penny are Yusuf, Atticus's compadre, Harrington, Ortega's butler, Carmine, Aries' friend. 4. Iono has Pepe-like emotes, but it's Belly Bolt instead. 5. Kieran has willingly tried Pecharunt's Toxic Mochi and felt nothing. 6. After the events of the way home, Arvin registered his Mabostiff as an emotional support Pokemon for PTSD. 7. Nimona treats her butlers and housemaids like their family. 8. Penny is extremely jealous of Chase's/Elaine's partner Eevee, and has bribed them with thousands worth of LP, but doesn't know that Kanto doesn't accept LP as legal currency. 9. Crispin got his frying pan from Lacey, and still hasn't mustered up the courage to ask her out since. 10. Drain was the first one to discover Darulidon's evolution into Arculidon, I think that's how you say it, by showing his then Darulidon on a fancy piece of scrap you found. I like the idea of Catty being a Super Sentai fan because it contrasts with her gentle nature. You'd never expect someone like her to be really into an action-packed show, and it would explain why she has such a cool-looking Pokemon as her ace. Larry actually liking his job is so strange to me, but I guess most people who hate their job mostly hate their manager or boss, so it does make a bit of sense. And I'm with him. I absolutely despise Gita. Team Star would 100% have a Discord server, and I like that all of their close friends are also giving mod permissions. I wonder what kind of games they'd even play together though. I love the idea of Iono having Pepe belly bolt emojis. It fits so well. I still need to finish up the DLC. I made progress, but I still need to get to whatever the mochi thing's about. But my best current guess is that Kieran is already so toxic that nothing happened. I completely understand why Arvin would have PTSD after that. Finding out your parent is dead and AI has been controlling them is so dystopian. At least he has his Mabostiff there for support, but still. I forget that Nemona's family is rich. She just seems so casual and friendly that you would never expect her to come from a wealthy family. For sure though, she'd absolutely treat them like friends. I can't imagine Nemona being like, do this for me, now. She'd probably say, hey, what's up? Need any help? At first I was wondering why Penny would be so jealous of the Let's Go protagonist Eevee. Doesn't it just wear hats? But then I remembered this thing has an insane move pool, so never mind. Penny is 100% justified in wanting this thing. I still don't know a lot about Crispin, but it confuses me that he has this super upfront personality, yet struggles with this. Just get it over with, man. As long as you give it your best shot, you'll have no regrets. Drayton evolving as Duraludon on accident is funny, but also super interesting. Like, I wonder how many Pokemon in lore have the capability to evolve another stage, but nobody has figured out the right conditions or item you need to do it. There's probably so many of them. Magirna says, headcanon, I feel like Hilda would mug someone. Gordon James Henry Production replies with, bonus, she has a Brooklyn accent. I've always imagined Hilda being a tomboy, so with that tougher attitude, I can definitely see her mugging someone. I never imagined her with a Brooklyn accent though, but it's super funny and makes a lot of sense. Unova is based on New York City after all. Matthew Foley says, my headcanon is that Primarina makes little rhythmic whistles when it sleeps. After one trainer documented their Primarina's snoring, they decided to speed up the audio. It's revealed that Primarina's whistles are actually notes that make up a tune that they sing for their next battle. Primarina tries to come up with a new tune in each sleep session to give variety to their performance. I like this headcanon a lot because it sort of sounds like a Pokedex entry. It's really great. I've always liked Primarina's cry a lot. It sounds so satisfying to listen to. Here, just take a listen. And it coming up with new songs to sing even while it's sleeping is very fitting. Great job. Oh, I got a long way to go. Just Your Average Joe says, I'm about to go absolutely bonkers with my headcanon selection. Let me try to get some more normal ones in before diving into the deep end. The reason Snorlax sleeps so much is because it knows that if it eats enough food to be full, it'll destroy the wildlife, and all the other Pokemon will starve. So it's more like a self-inflicted coma to conserve energy while it's eating less than it needs. Jessie is the child of Giovanni and Ariana. Silver doesn't exist in this timeline. We know from the audio drama tie-in that Jessie's biological mom was a high-level member who died searching for Mew. If Jessie was Giovanni's secret child, or if he never knew for certain if she was his or not, it would explain why she keeps the trio on the payroll. Despite all of them being bad at stealing stuff, she reminds him of his lost love. The real reason Brock ran away from Professor Ivy is because when he inevitably tried to rizz her up, she immediately started analyzing the situation. She quickly asked him if his interest in older women stems from the abandonment he felt when both his parents left him, as well as the impulse to bring his siblings home a new mother. And that level of on-the-nose vulnerability terrified him. It's why he evolves so hard as a character in Hoenn and Sinnoh. He can't face reality, so he just buckles down and lets his search for a girlfriend take over his whole personality. Pokeballs work exclusively through consent. The 3 shakes are the Pokemon deciding if it really wants to work with you or not. Pokemon appear in the tall grass and challenge humans because they're in the market for a good trainer to help them get stronger. Surprise captures and quick balls that succeed are because the Pokemon went, oh, this is happening now? Well, why not? I don't have any plans this year. The reason fainted Pokemon can't be caught is because they can no longer consent to the capture. In this light, the Master Ball is kind of a cruel trick now, isn't it? That 99 whatever % guaranteed is because the habitat inside the Pokeball is so good, the Pokemon can't wait to move in. Like a mansion with a beachfront property you're getting as a job perk. Maybe that's why they're so rare and can't have a price put on them. I didn't come up with this, but I love the fan-made idea that Larry came from our world. He was a normal guy hit by the Isekai truck and just rolled with it when he woke up in a land of mythical monsters all around him. Lieutenant Surge isn't actually Lieutenant, he's a much higher rank, but the Pokemon League marketing team claimed that the Lightning Lieutenant was catchier. He considers this an insult to his military service, but he doesn't have enough clout to change it. Now for the more unhinged ideas. Here we go. Poppy, the Paldean Elite Four member, isn't actually a child. She's a grown woman with systemic hypoplasia, a disorder that kept her body from physically aging past early development. She's just too embarrassed to admit that she's an adult, so she pretends to be a kid, and the rest of the league just rolls with it. Basically, I watched the Baby Doll episode of Batman the Animated Series and decided that that explanation was better than the league hiring a literal toddler as a government official. A while ago, I watched Matt Pat's theory on how the entire Nurse Joy family is secretly Chansey and Blissy's in human form. I have not been able to get it out of my head since, and I now accept it as likely reality. I also now speculate that Don Georges of Unova evolved from Harayamas, and that the Jenny line came from Stoutlands. Do I have any evidence apart from looking alike? Absolutely not, but it's interesting. And the blue in Jenny's hair kinda looks like the blue on Stoutland's fur if you squint hard enough. Arceus isn't actually a llama god at all. The arc in his name comes from the fact that he's an archangel making his own multiverse with permission from his actual god. The Poppy headcanon took from Batman, this one rips off Narnia. Makes me wonder which angel Arceus was though. Maybe Raphael. He doesn't have much lore behind him anyway. He can be whatever you want him to be. Taking a slow snack break. Bread for anyone interested. Pretty good. Okay, break time over. Oh boy, I have a lot to get through. I like the Snorlax one about it sleeping for others' sake and not for its own. It makes it sound a lot less lazy and way more selfless. I always just thought that it was food coma. It's so true though. Whenever I'm feeling hungry and I don't have any food ready to eat, I just sleep it away and boom, it's like skipping a cutscene. Silver not existing in the anime has always made me kind of disappointed, but if Jesse's the replacement for him, I think that would be super cool. They both already have really similar hair colors, and it would make sense as to why Giovanni hasn't fired her for not being that great at her job. I love that Professor Ivy one. I've always wondered just what happened between Professor Ivy and Brock for him to never even want to talk about it, let alone think about it. But this headcanon is just so perfect. Her immediately cutting deep into his emotional wounds is so like her, and this of course would make Brock depressed realizing just how horrible his parents are, along with him realizing why he acts the way he does. And honestly, until you mentioned it, I never really noticed Brock becoming more girl crazy during Hoenn and Sinnoh, but I think you're right, it did become more prominent, didn't it? I think the Pokeball consent thing makes sense, because a lot of the time after a Pokemon's captured, it's immediately super friendly with its trainer, which wouldn't make sense unless A, like you said, it's a consent thing, or B, they just straight up get brainwashed. And I think the brainwashing thing is kind of disturbing, so option A it is. Larry getting isekai'd from real world Japan into the Pokemon world, yet still working a corporate job is great. Instead of quitting, he just adds another job to his workload. Oh, I can fight magical creatures in this world? Guess I got something to add to my resume. Just help with my 401k. I'm just saying things, I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not too familiar with the ranks in the military, but them caring more about the catchiness of the name is pretty funny. And they got a point, the Lightning Lieutenant does sound pretty cool. It sort of reminds me of when Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man goes to wrestle, and he says his name's the Human Spider, and the announcer's like, nah, that name's lame. You're the Amazing Spider-Man now. And he's like, what? No, but the name's stuck. Honestly, the Poppy one isn't even that crazy, because I was looking at Poppy's Bulbapedia page for this headcanon, and apparently she's 9 years old? 9. There is no way that she's 9. She looks like she's 4. You're telling me this toddler is a year younger than Ash? Huh? Yeah, I don't believe it. There's no way. There's no way that that's not a toddler. I remember that Nurse Joy's a Chansey theory. It's very strange, but it's fun to think about. I like the little additions you added on though. I don't know who Don George is. Maybe it's Don Jorge, I don't know. But I had to search him up and yeah, I can see it. And Jenny being a Stoutland, I can sort of see it too. Also, side note, I always thought it was weird that Officer Jenny is an anime only character. It feels like she's not, but she is. Arceus being an archangel sounds sick. I always thought it was a bit strange that the god of the Pokemon world is just a Pokemon, so I like the idea of it being an archangel a lot more. I don't really know a lot about archangels to be able to gather which one it could be, but I still love all of these headcanons. You did a great job. Odo Mankey says, I've said this once and I'll say it again. My headcanon is that the reason Maractus, Cacti, and Cacturn don't have abilities like Rough Skin or Iron Barbs is that they have a short velvet-like fur in places they don't have spikes, except for those darker green parts, because I imagine them just having a leafy feel. I really hate thinking about this one. It makes my skin crawl. Ew, just I hate it. I really hate it. I'd rather them just feel leafy, but them feeling like velvet is just so weird to me. At least I can pet them, but like still. Ugh. Goldlight says, a somewhat silly headcanon I have is that after the Ultra Beast invasion in Alola, people eventually started making products based on them. I can totally see Buzzwole energy drinks, Nihilego hats, and even circuitry Christmas trees for the holidays. People in Alolians, anyways, them capitalizing on the catastrophe is super funny, but I can see them doing it. Hey, remember all those aliens that came from outer space to invade us? Me too. Here's this Kartana origami set. They're not even fazed by it, and it fits with the Alolan carefree nature. I would 100% drink a Buzzwole energy drink before going to the gym, and I'd also wear a Nihilego hat. Oh my god, out of curiosity, I searched up Nihilego hat, and it's a real thing. I need it. Triangle Craft says, my headcanon is that Cynthia gets different ice cream flavors for each of her Pokemon. Spiritomb eats pistachio, Roserade eats mint chocolate, Gastrodon eats cookies and cream, Lucario eats any nut flavor, Milotic wants the most expensive one, Garchomp eats blood orange. I like that this Cynthia Philadelphia ice cream headcanon has just progressed more and more throughout the headcanon series. I do think that most of these flavors fit though. The only one I would change is Lucario. I think I'd want chocolate ice cream instead, sort of like how the Lucario in the movie eats chocolate. And Milotic being so snooty that it wants whatever's most expensive is funny. I had to search up what blood orange is though. Apparently it's orange ice cream with raspberry and cherries, and that sounds like the best ice cream ever. That's all my favorite fruits combined into one dessert, ice cream. And ice cream is my favorite dessert. I need this. You don't understand. The same on YouTube says, hilarious suicide. All right, that's enough headcanons for today. Go watch this video about my top 10 favorite Pokemon characters. Maybe if you make headcanons about them, you'll have a better shot at getting in. And go check out this video. It's which Pokemon character is most likely to do what, and it's super similar to my headcanon series, so I think you'd like it. Anyways, like the video, comment, subscribe, follow my socials, and I'll catch you all later, everyone. Bye.